All right, I'm officially worried. I'm a failed entrepreneur. I make crappy videos every day. Subscribe to it, miss a single one. Um, I made a video a while ago about food shortages and specifically in like the meat industry and saying go out and stock up on meat right now for all the ones of people who watch that video. But it's coming out now. It's becoming more common that there are some severe meat shortages hitting the market right now. And my barometer from the very beginning of all of this, when the corona hit and the social distancing, shelter in place, I was like, you know what? It'd be inconvenient. It's going to be a little different. But I'm not worried. I'll be worried when your fast food restaurants, because people were hoarding all the toilet paper and stuff, right? I'll be worried when they start running out of food, right? When McDonald's can't give me my hamburger, right? When they can't get to that point, then I'll be a little freaked out. When the supply chain starts to collapse, not the toilet paper chain, but the supply chain in general, and something like meat, and right? When that starts to collapse and we can't even get food to your McDonald's, that's their whole existence depends on that. They're very good at that, right? Then I will freak out. Well, it happened. There's some Wendy's now that are not offering hamburgers anymore because of meat shortages, right? You can get chicken. I guess you can't even get their chili anymore. You can get your chicken and baked potato, okay? That's it. And I expect other restaurants to follow suit. That's a little worrisome, a little more than worrisome, right? If they can't get food to their stores, right, the supply chain is not in good shape, and that is really cause for alarm, right? Toilet paper, again, it's a meme at this point. People got toilet paper stocked up in the basement forever, for days. But, meat, that's a different thing, and we're starting to see that now. Costco is limiting meat purchases, 3 items per person or per visit now when you go to like your Costco. That's the whole reason you go to Costco, is to stock up, right? When I was at my local grocery store over the weekend, they had chicken. This is a little weird, but they had chicken, boneless chicken breasts, buy one, get one free. So, hey, that's a good deal, right? But limit one per customer. It's like, if you're trying to ration them out, why are you doing buy one get one free? It doesn't make any sense to me. I snuck out with 4 things of chicken breast. Don't rat me out to the snitch police. But and some other things too. But we're starting to see that now, right? And that's a lot more scary than the toilet paper. And it's just this prolonged shutdown is putting a lot of stress on a lot of different systems. A lot of businesses, a lot of industries are starting to buckle and crumble under the weight. And this is maybe one of the scariest one yet, because it's directly affecting the food supply. Now, again, in the grand scheme of things, everyone just goes vegetarian for a while and we all survive and probably a little healthier, and it's not the end of the world, but it's very, again, worrisome, right? And if you don't know what happened, basically when all the restaurants shut down, you got a lot of ranchers, farmers caught on the short end of a stick, right? Most of the bacon in this country, like 90%, I think, is consumed by restaurants. That is gone. That demand isn't there anymore. And so they have all these hogs and cattle and chickens with basically no market to sell to anymore, no place to hang on to them. And so they just started to put them down, right? Not take that meat to market because, again, there was no one buying it. It was just a sunk cost, basically, right? It was a waste. And you have a bunch of producers starting to close down. Tyson Chicken, for example, right, had to shut down a lot of its plants because there just was no demand. Send those workers home. But eventually what happens is, it's a domino effect. You got too much supply in the meat industry. Meat producers have to start getting rid of the supply. They're not making money. They start closing down their doors temporarily, but maybe sometimes for good, especially like the smaller ones. And then what happens, it's a yo-yo, right? Instead of having too much supply, now when the producers are all been knocked out, you have very little supply, right? And you have a whole different problem. It's the exact same thing almost that happened during the Great Depression, right? During the Great Depression, or in the beginnings of it, farmers were producing more crops, more food than they ever had before, thanks to new farming techniques and mechanization and use of fertilizers and stuff like that. Farmers were kicking ass. They were growing tons of food. But when the Depression hit, right, people losing their jobs, unemployment, stretching their pennies and dimes as far as you can, people weren't buying as much food anymore. And so farmers had to take their food to market, but the cost was very low. And so they grew more food than ever, right? But ended up losing money because the prices were so suppressed. And so what do farmers do the next year? Well, I grew a lot of food and made very little money. If I'm going to try and break even this year, I'm going to have to grow even more food. And so farmers the next year grew even more, which lowered and created prices even worse than before, right? Now farmers can't stay in business. They're legit losing money from farming and doing a good job of it. And so they start getting knocked out. And then you take enough of those dominoes or pegs, legs out of the food system, whatever, and then you were facing a real food crisis in the country. Okay? That's what we were looking at. Government had to go to drastic measures, basically what farmers are kind of doing now by themselves with the Agricultural Adjustment Act. And the government came in there and basically killed a bunch of those animals, burned a bunch of those crops, basically just taking food out of the market because the supply was way too high. Prices rebounded, it became stable. And again, of course, as we know, to make sure it doesn't happen, the government started to pay farmers not to farm as a kind of way to regulate pricing, right? But this all happened so fast with Corona, and the supply and demand was so drastic that you have, again, the farmers had to take matters again into their own hands, and they start kind of culling their own herds, their own animals. But some of them may not make it out of this. And as a consumer, like I said, meat is going to become very, very scarce, and it's going to become probably a lot more pricey. And this is not a problem that really gets fixed quickly. It takes a while to grow a piglet into a full-size pig. So this is like another new reality, and I don't know if people really saw it coming or maybe understand. But like I said, my barometer was the fast foods, that restaurant. That was my canary in the coal mine, and that canary is starting to not be in good shape, right? So I guess the moral, again, I said it before, I'll say it again, I'm going to keep saying this. If you are able to, if you can, if you go to the grocery store, then wherever you go, and you see meat, if that's your thing, it would be a very good idea to stock up on it now, freeze it, store it for later. Two things. Number one, it's not going to be any cheaper today than it is. Boy, it won't be any cheaper tomorrow than it is today. Prices are going up, right? And you may not be able to just get it very, very soon. So, like I said, stock up, save up, protect yourself. Again, in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. It's not hopefully long-term. Well, it will be a long-term, but it's not a permanent thing, is like I'm trying to say. But for the near future, it looks like toilet paper is out, and bring on the meat memes, because, like I said, it's probably coming, and it's probably already here. So that's it for today. Just a couple quick thoughts, and like I said, that's a little worrisome. Hopefully we open up soon. I live in Arizona. I think we set a date for 2 weeks. We're going to do so and try. But again, these things, it's going to take a lot longer to fix the damage than it took us to cause the damage. So be careful, be safe, take care of yourself. Thanks for watching. Hey, Have you seen any shortages? I never do this. You seen any shortages? Did you get what kind of meat do you have in your freezer? Leave it in the comments, and then we can all see how much of a barbecue we're gonna have, right? Barbecue, especially during summer. Hey, barbecue's gonna take a hit, man. Get those veggie kebabs, baked potatoes. Those are coming back. Get stocked up on those.